Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today we are going to do a deep dive into all the stuff about AI Trism.
AI Trism.
Yeah, trust, risk, and security management in AI. Like
Oh, okay.
all this talk about AI safety and all that, and even Gartner is saying that it's a pretty big deal.
Oh, wow. So it must be important.
Yeah, it's a big deal. But what I thought was really interesting is that this isn't just some abstract concept, for like tech people or,
Right.
people in Silicon Valley. Like it actually affects all of us,
I can see that.
even if you don't even know the first thing about coding.
Yeah, that's right. We're at a point now where AI is becoming embedded in almost every part of our lives,
It really is.
often in ways that we don't even realize.
Yeah, and that's kind of what makes this whole AI Trism thing so important, I think. So can you help me understand, like,
Yeah.
why is AI Trism all of a sudden so important?
Well, I think you need to think about the explosion of AI that we've seen recently,
Yeah.
especially with tools like ChatGPT.
Mm.
I mean, there's a ton of excitement around what AI can do, but also a lot of concern about the potential risks.
Mm-hmm.
Gardner actually predicts that organizations that don't take AI risk management seriously
Uh-oh.
are much more likely to experience things like project failures and even security breaches.
See, that's a bit unnerving, to be honest. I mean, I use these AI tools all the time.
And that's exactly why AI Trism is so relevant.
Okay.
It's about making sure that those tools are developed and used responsibly.
Okay.
So not just focusing on the cool features, but also thinking about the potential consequences.
I see. So what does that actually mean for me? Like, I'm not building the next ChatGPT, so how does AI Trism
Right.
impact my life?
Well, let's say, for example, you're applying for a loan.
Okay.
A bank might use an AI model to assess your creditworthiness.
Oh, okay.
AI Trism helps ensure that that model is fair, unbiased,
Okay.
and makes decisions based on relevant factors, not things that could discriminate against you.
I'm starting to see how this goes beyond just the tech itself. It's about fairness and making sure these systems don't perpetuate existing inequalities.
Exactly. And it goes even further than that.
Okay.
Think about self-driving cars.
Oh, right.
AI Trism helps ensure that those vehicles are making safe decisions on the road,
Oh, wow.
not just for the passengers, but for everybody around them.
It's almost like AI is this powerful tool, but without AI Trism, it's like we're handing out chainsaws with no safety instructions.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
AI Trism is all about adding those safety instructions, so to speak,
Okay.
to ensure that AI is a force for good.
So it's not just about preventing AI from doing something bad, but it's also about making sure it's actively being used for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
And that's where the 4 key pillars of AI Trism come in.
Pillars. Okay, tell me more.
Think of these pillars as the foundational elements of responsible AI.
Okay.
So the first one is explainability.
Explainability. Okay.
Yeah. This is all about making AI transparent, so you can understand how it arrives at a decision,
Okay.
like being able to look under the hood and see how the engine works.
So not just getting an answer from an AI, but understanding the reasoning behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see why that would be important, especially if those decisions have real-world consequences.
Right. Then we have ModelOps.
ModelOps. So.
It's essentially about making sure that AI models are reliable and accurate over time.
So keeping them up to date.
Think of it like regular car maintenance. You need to make sure the engine's running smoothly, the tires are properly inflated,
Right, so that's super important.
everything's in good working order.
Makes sense. We wouldn't just expect a car to run perfectly forever without any upkeep.
Right.
What's the next pillar?
AI AppSec, or AI application security.
AI AppSec.
This is all about protecting AI systems from attacks and manipulation. Think of it as cybersecurity, but specifically for AI.
So kind of like having an alarm system and strong locks on your house to keep intruders out?
Exactly. And finally, we have privacy.
Privacy, right?
This pillar is all about making sure that AI systems use data responsibly and protect sensitive information.
Super important.
So it's about making sure your personal data isn't being misused or exposed.
Okay, so we've got explainability, upkeep, security, and privacy. Those all seem like pretty crucial elements for responsible AI. But how do they all work together in practice?
Yeah.
I mean, it can't just be about ticking boxes on a checklist.
It's definitely more than just a checklist.
Right.
These pillars are interwoven and need to be considered throughout the entire life cycle of an AI system.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into some specifics. Let's unpack how these pillars actually work in real-world scenarios.
Let's do it.
All right, so we've laid out the 4 pillars of AI, triage, explainability, ModelOps, AI AppSec, and privacy. I'm really starting to grasp why these are so important.
Right.
But how do these actually play out in the real world? Can you give me a concrete example?
Absolutely. Let's go back to that example of a bank using an AI model to evaluate loan applications. We touched on fairness earlier.
Yeah,
But let's dive a bit deeper.
perfect. I think a lot of people can relate to that example.
Right. So imagine this AI model is using a bunch of data points to decide who gets approved for a loan, right?
Right.
Things like income, employment history, credit score.
Mm-hmm.
Now, without AI, Trism, that model could unintentionally perpetuate biases that already exist in the financial system.
Like, if historically certain groups have had less access to credit,
Right.
the model might learn from that biased data and make unfair decisions.
Exactly. That's where explainability comes in.
Oh, okay.
With a truly explainable AI model, the bank could see exactly which factors are driving the loan decision.
Okay.
They could then identify any potential biases and adjust the model to ensure that it's making fair and equitable decisions.
So it's not just about trusting the AI blindly, it's about having the tools to understand its decision-making process and make sure it's aligned with our values.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's ModelOps.
Mm.
Remember, it's about making sure the model stays accurate over time.
Okay.
Let's say the economy takes the downturn, and suddenly people's financial situations change dramatically.
Right.
The bank would need to update and retrain that AI model to reflect the new reality.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it might start making loan decisions based on outdated information.
I see. So it's like constantly recalibrating the AI to make sure it's keeping up with the ever-changing world.
Exactly. Now, let's add in the security layer, that AI AppSec pillar.
Okay.
Imagine a hacker tries to manipulate the bank's AI model to get loans approved for people who shouldn't qualify.
Oh, right.
Strong AI AppSec would prevent those kinds of attacks,
Okay.
protecting both the bank and its customers.
It's like having a security guard posted at the door of the AI, making sure only authorized users and information can get in.
Right. And finally, there's privacy.
Right.
The bank needs to make sure they're only using customer data for the intended purpose of evaluating loan applications,
Okay.
and that this data is stored securely and not being accessed or used improperly.
So it's kind of like a multi-layered approach. You've got explainability to ensure fairness, ModelOps to maintain accuracy, AI AppSec to prevent attacks, and privacy to protect sensitive data.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And all of these pieces work together to create a trustworthy and responsible AI system.
Okay, that example really brought it home for me. But
Right.
let's zoom out a bit. Our sources also talked about the potential consequences of neglecting AI Trism.
Hmm.
They even referenced Black Mirror, which always makes me a bit nervous.
I understand the concern. Black Mirror does a great job of illustrating the potential pitfalls of technology,
Right.
and AI is no exception.
What are some real-world examples where things could go wrong if AI Trism isn't taken seriously?
We already touched on the potential for AI to perpetuate bias.
Right.
Imagine an AI system used in hiring that unintentionally discriminates against certain candidates based on factors like their gender or ethnicity.
Right.
That could have a devastating impact on people's lives and careers.
It's a stark reminder that even with good intentions, AI can have unintended consequences if we're not careful.
Exactly. And then there are the security risks.
Okay.
Imagine a self-driving car getting hacked and taken control of remotely.
Oh, gosh.
That could have catastrophic consequences.
Right.
Or think about an AI system used in healthcare that gets manipulated to misdiagnose patients or administer incorrect treatments.
Okay, those are some pretty scary scenarios.
Yeah,
It's clear that the stakes are high when it comes to AI Trism.
they absolutely are. But it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay.
The good news is that awareness of these risks is growing,
Yeah,
and organizations are starting to take AI Trism more seriously.
that's reassuring. So what are some practical steps organizations can take to implement AI Trism?
All right.
Where should they even begin?
One of the most important things is to make AI Trism a priority from the very beginning.
Okay.
It can't be an afterthought.
Right.
Organizations need to build a culture of responsibility around AI, where everyone involved understands the importance of ethical considerations and potential risks.
So it's not just about having a technical solution, it's about having the right mindset and values in place.
Exactly. Organizations need to establish clear guidelines and policies around AI development and use.
Okay.
They need to train their employees on AI Trism principles and make sure everyone understands their role in ensuring responsible AI.
It's like creating a code of conduct for AI, making sure everyone is on the same page about how to use this powerful technology ethically.
Precisely. And documentation is crucial.
Oh, okay.
Organizations need to keep detailed records of their AI systems, including the data they used, the algorithms they employed,
Wow.
and the decisions that those systems made.
So kind of like having a paper trail for AI,
Right.
so we can understand its actions and hold it accountable, so to speak.
You got it. It also helps to involve diverse perspectives throughout the AI development process.
Oh,
Having people from different backgrounds and disciplines weigh in can help identify potential biases and ethical concerns that might otherwise be overlooked.
it's like having a checks and balances system to make sure AI is serving everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about continuous monitoring and improvement.
Right.
AI systems aren't static. They're constantly learning and evolving, which means we need to keep a close eye on them to ensure they're still behaving as intended.
It's like having regular checkups with your AI, making sure it's healthy and functioning properly.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Organizations should also have a plan in place for what to do if something does go wrong.
Okay, so like a backup plan.
They need to be prepared to investigate incidents, identify the root cause, and take corrective action to prevent similar issues from happening again.
So it's not just about preventing problems, it's also about having a plan in place to address them if and when they do occur.
Absolutely. And that's where the importance of transparency comes in. If an organization has a clear and open process for handling AI incidents, it can help build trust with users and stakeholders.
Transparency builds trust. That's a good motto for responsible AI.
I like that.
Now, earlier we talked about how AI is being used in a wide range of applications, from finance to healthcare to transportation.
Yeah.
But there's one area that seems particularly relevant to this discussion of AI Trism,
Okay.
and that's generative AI.
You're right. Generative AI is a fascinating and rapidly developing field,
It really is.
but it also presents some unique challenges for AI Trismer.
Let's dive into that a bit more. For those who aren't familiar, can you briefly explain what generative AI is
Yeah.
and why it's so relevant to this conversation?
Of course. So generative AI refers to AI models that can create new content.
Okay.
Think about tools like ChatGPT, which can generate text,
Right.
or DALL-E, which can create images from text descriptions.
Yeah, it's amazing.
These tools are capable of producing incredibly realistic and creative outputs, which is both exciting and potentially concerning.
Yeah, I've played around with those tools, and it's amazing what they can do.
Yeah,
But I can also see how that kind of power could be misused.
exactly. That's why AI Trism is so crucial in the context of generative AI.
Okay.
We need to make sure these tools are being used responsibly and ethically.
So what are some of the specific AI Trism challenges that arise with generative AI?
One of the biggest challenges is control.
Control. Yep.
Generative AI models can be unpredictable.
Right.
You might feed in a prompt and get back something completely unexpected.
Yeah.
Now, while this can lead to amazing creativity, it also makes it difficult to guarantee that the output will always be appropriate or safe.
It's like opening a Pandora's box of AI creativity. You never know what you're going to get.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that unpredictability can make it difficult to implement traditional safeguards.
I see.
For example, if a generative AI model is used to create marketing materials, how do you ensure that it won't unintentionally generate something offensive or misleading?
That's a good point. It seems like explainability would be particularly important in this context.
Right.
If you can understand how the AI arrived at a certain output,
Yeah.
you might be able to identify potential problems and adjust the model accordingly.
You're absolutely right. Explainability is crucial for generative AI.
Okay.
We need to be able to understand how these models are making decisions so we can identify and mitigate potential biases or risks.
What about the other pillars? How do they apply to generative AI?
Well, ModelOps is essential for ensuring that generative AI models are reliable and accurate over time.
Okay.
Remember, these models are constantly learning from the data they're exposed to.
Right.
That means we need to monitor them carefully and retrain them as needed to ensure they're still producing the desired outputs.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing?
Right.
You need to constantly keep an eye on these models and make sure they're still on track.
Exactly. And then there's AI AppSec. Generative AI tools can be vulnerable to attacks just like any other AI system.
Okay.
Hackers could try to manipulate these tools to generate harmful content or spread misinformation.
Right.
Strong security measures are essential to prevent these kinds of attacks.
It's like having a security system in place to protect the AI itself from being compromised.
Right. And finally, Privacy is crucial for generative AI. These models often rely on vast amounts of data to learn and create.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that this data is being used responsibly and ethically, and that people's privacy is being protected.
It's a lot to consider, but it seems like AI Trism provides a framework for navigating these challenges and ensuring that generative AI is a force for good.
It absolutely does. And as generative AI continues to evolve, AI Trism will become even more important.
Okay.
It's an ongoing conversation, and we need to stay engaged and informed to ensure that this powerful technology is used responsibly and ethically.
This has been a fascinating discussion.
Good, I'm glad.
I feel like I've gained a much deeper understanding of AI Trism and its implications, especially in the context of generative AI.
Great.
But I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear more about how these principles are being put into practice in the real world.
Yeah, I agree. In our next segment, we'll move beyond the theoretical and explore some real-world examples of organizations that are successfully implementing AI Trism principles.
Okay.
We'll look at case studies, best practices, and lessons learned.
Sounds great. Stay tuned, folks.
All right.
We'll be right back with more on AI Trism and how it's shaping the future of responsible AI. We're back and ready to jump into some real-world examples of AI Trism in action.
Yeah, let's get concrete.
Okay, so who's doing this right? Like, are there companies out there that are really leading the way with AI Trism?
Absolutely. There are a number of organizations, both big and small,
Okay.
that are really leading the way in AI Trism. They're not just talking the talk, they're actually
Right.
walking the walk.
Give us some examples. I'm eager to hear about companies that are getting this right.
One company that really stands out is Google.
Google, okay.
They've been very public about their commitment to responsible AI.
Mm-hmm.
They've even published a set of AI principles
Right, I've heard of those.
that guide their work in this area.
What are some of the key takeaways from those principles?
Well, they focus on several key areas, including fairness, accountability, transparency, and safety.
Okay.
For example, they're actively working to reduce bias in their AI models and to make those models more explainable.
Right.
They also emphasize the importance of human oversight in AI systems.
So it's not just about letting the AI run wild.
Right.
There's a human in the loop to make sure things are being done responsibly.
Exactly. Another interesting example is Microsoft.
Okay, Microsoft.
They've actually established a dedicated Office of Responsible AI.
Wow, a whole office.
It is.
That's commitment.
Which is tasked with overseeing the company's AI ethics and practices.
That's a pretty strong statement.
It is. And it shows how seriously they're taking this issue. They've also been active in promoting industry-wide collaboration on AI ethics, which is really important.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, these challenges are too big for any one company to tackle alone, right?
Exactly.
It's going to take a collective effort to get this right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just the tech giants that are making strides in AI Trism.
Okay, so who else?
We're also seeing a lot of innovation in the financial services industry.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Companies like Citigroup and JP Morgan Chase are using AI for things like fraud detection and risk assessment,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also very focused on ensuring that those AI systems are fair, transparent, and secure.
Yeah, those are some pretty high-stakes applications.
Right.
I imagine the consequences of getting it wrong in those areas could be pretty significant.
You're right. And that's why they're investing so heavily in AI Trism.
Okay.
They're implementing rigorous testing procedures, developing explainability tools, and establishing clear ethical guidelines for AI usage.
It sounds like there's a real awareness in that industry that AI Trism is not just a nice to have,
Right.
but it's a business imperative.
Exactly. And it's encouraging to see that this awareness is spreading to other industries as well.
That's good.
We're seeing more and more companies, regardless of their size or sector, recognizing the importance of AI Trism and taking steps to implement it.
It seems like AI Trism is moving from the fringes to the mainstream.
I agree.
It's becoming part of the conversation in boardrooms and executive suites, not just in tech departments.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
And it's a positive trend. The more we talk about AI Trism,
Right.
the more we normalize it, and the more we create a culture of responsibility around AI.
So what does the future hold for AI Trism? Where do you see this going in the next few years?
Well, I think we'll continue to see AI Trism become more integrated into the fabric of AI development and deployment. It'll become less of a separate discipline and more of a core competency for anyone working with AI.
It's like AI Trism will become part of the DNA of AI itself.
That's a great way to put it. We'll also see more sophisticated tools and technologies emerge to support AI Trism.
Like what?
Think about things like automated bias detection, real-time explainability dashboards,
Wow.
and privacy-preserving machine learning techniques.
It sounds like AI Trism is going to become even more powerful and effective as these new tools come online.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, I think we'll see a shift in mindset
Okay.
where responsible AI is no longer seen as a constraint,
Right.
but as an opportunity.
An opportunity. I wrote the sound of that.
When companies embrace AI Trism,
Yeah.
they can actually build stronger, more resilient, and more trustworthy AI systems. This, in turn, can lead to greater innovation, wider adoption of AI, and ultimately more positive outcomes for everyone.
It's a win-win. Responsible AI leads to better AI, which leads to a better world.
That's the goal, isn't it?
It is.
To harness the power of AI for good and to ensure that it benefits all of humanity.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
Good. I'm glad.
I've learned so much about AI Trism, its importance, and the steps we can take to ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you.
Likewise.
And remember, the conversation about AI Trism doesn't end here.
It doesn't.
It's an ongoing process, and we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
That's right. We need to stay informed, engaged, and advocate for responsible AI development and use.
Absolutely.
So, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We hope you found it valuable and informative. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a future where AI is a force for good in the world. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into AI Trism. We've covered a lot of ground so far, from the 4 pillars to real-world scenarios and even, the potential risks
Absolutely.
if AI Trism isn't neglected. But now I'm curious to see how these principles are actually being put into practice. Are there companies out there that are actually doing this right?
Absolutely. There are a number of organizations, both large and small,
Okay.
that are leading the way in AI. They're not just talking the talk, they're actually walking the walk.
Give us some examples. I'm eager to hear about companies that are getting this right.
One company that stands out is Google.
Google. Yeah.
They've been very public about their commitment to responsible AI. And they've even published a set of AI principles that guide their work in this area.
Yeah, I remember hearing about those principles.
Yeah?
What are some of the key takeaways?
Well, they focus on several key areas, including fairness, accountability, transparency, and safety.
Okay.
For example, they're actively working to reduce bias in their AI models and to make those models more explainable.
Okay.
They also emphasize the importance of human oversight in AI systems.
So it's not just about letting the AI run wild.
Yeah.
It's about making sure there's a human in the loop to ensure things are being done responsibly.
Exactly. Another interesting example is Microsoft.
Microsoft, okay.
They've actually established a dedicated Office of Responsible AI.
Wow, a whole office dedicated to responsible AI.
Yeah, it is.
That's a pretty strong statement.
It is, and it shows how seriously they're taking this issue.
Yeah.
They've also been active in promoting industry-wide collaboration on AI ethics, which is really important.
Yeah, it makes sense. These challenges are too big for any one company to tackle alone.
Right.
It's going to take a collective effort to get this right.
Absolutely. And it's not just the tech giants that are making strides in AI to rise them.
Okay, so who else?
We're also seeing a lot of innovation in the financial services industry.
Oh, the financial services industry. Okay.
Companies like Citigroup and JP Chase are using AI for things like fraud detection and risk assessment, but they're also very focused on ensuring that those AI systems are fair, transparent, and secure.
Those are some pretty high-stakes applications.
Yeah.
I imagine the consequences of getting it wrong in those areas could be pretty significant.
You're right. And that's why they're investing so heavily in AI Trism.
Makes sense.
They're implementing rigorous testing procedures, developing explainability tools, and establishing clear ethical guidelines for AI usage.
It sounds like there's a real awareness in that industry that AI Trism is not just a nice to have, but it's a business imperative.
Exactly. And it's encouraging to see that this awareness is spreading to other industries as well.
That's good.
We're seeing more and more companies, regardless of their size or sector,
Right.
recognizing the importance of AI Trism and taking steps to implement it.
It seems like AI Trism is moving from the fringes to the mainstream. It's becoming part of the conversation in boardrooms and executive suites, not just in tech departments.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
And it's a positive trend.
Yeah.
The more we talk about AI Trism,
Right.
the more we normalize it, and the more we create a culture of responsibility around AI.
So what does the future hold for AI Trism? Where do you see this going in the next few years?
Well, I think we'll continue to see AI Trism become more integrated into the fabric of AI development and deployment.
Yeah.
It'll become less of a separate discipline and more of a core competency for anyone working with AI.
It's like AI Trism will become part of the DNA of AI itself.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
We'll also see more sophisticated tools and technologies emerge to support AI Trism.
Okay, like what?
Think about things like automated bias detection, real-time explainability dashboards,
Wow.
and privacy-preserving machine learning techniques.
It sounds like AI Trism is going to become even more powerful and effective as these new tools come online.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, I think we'll see a shift in mindset,
Okay, a shift in mindset.
where responsible AI is no longer seen as a constraint,
Right.
but as an opportunity.
An opportunity. I like the sound of that.
When companies embrace AI Trism,
Yeah.
they can actually build stronger, more resilient, and more trustworthy AI systems.
Yeah.
This, in turn, can lead to greater innovation, wider adoption of AI, and ultimately, more positive outcomes for everyone.
It's a win-win. Responsible AI leads to better AI, which leads to a better world.
That's the goal, isn't it? To harness the power of AI for good and to ensure that it benefits all of humanity.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I've learned so much about AI Trism, its importance, and the steps we can take to ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you.
Likewise, and to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes. Thank you all for listening.
We hope you found it valuable and informative. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a future where AI is a force for good in the world.